June 25th, 2009, Los Angeles. At first glance, it was an ordinary summer day. People were going about their lives, fans were discussing the upcoming concerts, and there was nothing unusual in the news yet. But just a few hours later, this date would enter music history forever, as the day the world lost the most recognizable singer on the planet. At first, it sounded like a mistake, like a rumor someone had misunderstood and spread too quickly online. But the news kept repeating again and again. Michael Jackson was dead. For millions of people, it was so unexpected that the first reaction was not tears, but complete disbelief. He was only 50 years old, and the strangest thing was, he was not leaving the stage. On the contrary, he was preparing for a major comeback. Ahead of him was supposed to be the This Is It concert series. For fans, it was a chance to see the legend live again, and for Michael himself, it was an attempt to prove that he was still the king of the stage. The preparation was enormous. Rehearsals, music, lights, dancing, costumes, the team, the stage, everything had to work perfectly. But the higher the expectations became, the stronger the pressure grew. The audience saw a future celebration, while behind the scenes, exhaustion, anxiety, and insomnia were building. To understand what happened, you cannot look only at the final day. You need to see the whole chain. Fame, the comeback, rehearsals, lack of sleep, strong medications, and the decisions of the people who were nearby. This story is not about 1 second. It is about how several factors gradually came together into a tragedy. Michael Jackson stepped onto the stage when he was still a child. Millions of people literally watched him grow up in front of cameras, first as a young performer, then as a star, and later as a person who changed pop music. From almost the very beginning, his life was connected to the stage, attention, and enormous expectations. Later, people recognized him not only by his voice. It was enough to see the hat, the white glove, the pose, or one movement of the feet, and the viewer immediately understood who was in front of them. His image became so powerful that it turned into a separate symbol of an entire era. His music videos became events. His concerts filled huge halls, and his dances turned into movements that people tried to repeat all over the world. But the brighter the spotlight shines, the harder it is to see the person standing inside that light. In 2009, all attention was focused on him again. The This Is It concert series was supposed to become a major comeback. Tickets were selling, fans were waiting, the team was working, and the project itself was meant to show that Michael could still amaze the world. Behind the scenes, the legend remained an ordinary human being. He could get tired, worry, doubt himself, and spend nights without sleep. This is important to remember. The story of Michael Jackson's final hours is not just the story of a celebrity. It is the story of a person who found himself under enormous pressure. But a comeback required strength. The stage does not forgive weakness. You have to move, remember the choreography, control your breathing, stay in rhythm, and look confident. And if a person has been sleeping badly for weeks, even simple things become harder, not to mention a major show. The main problem of the final weeks was sleep, more precisely, the lack of it. According to the case materials, Michael suffered from severe insomnia. Night after night could pass and normal sleep still would not come. For a person who had to rehearse and perform, this was becoming a dangerous situation. Insomnia is not just not wanting to sleep. When a person does not sleep normally for a long time, concentration suffers. The body does not have time to recover. Anxiety grows and exhaustion builds. And next to a major show, this turns into a closed circle. The more pressure there is, the harder it becomes to sleep. Without sleep, the body does not recover. The stage requires energy, and rehearsals require precision. That is why the sleep problem became one of the key parts of the story. Not by itself, but because strong medications and decisions appeared around it. Decisions that investigators would later examine. The final night took place in Michael's home in Los Angeles. From the outside, everything looked calm. An ordinary street, silence, a house where no passerby could see what was happening inside. But it was there that the chain of events began, the chain that ended in tragedy. Michael's personal doctor, Conrad Murray, was next to him. Later, it would be his actions that became the center of the investigation and the trial. It is important to understand, the issue was not simply that a doctor was nearby. The issue was what medications were used, how they were monitored, and how quickly help was called. The main drug in this story was propofol. It is a powerful anesthetic that is usually used in medical institutions under the supervision of specialists. It can quickly put a person into a sleep-like state, but that is exactly why it requires strict monitoring of breathing and the body's condition. And here is the important point. The problem was not only the drug itself. The problem was the conditions. A home is not an operating room. A home does not have the monitoring system needed when using such a substance. This difference would later become one of the main topics of the investigation. In addition to propofol, drugs from the benzodiazepine group were also involved in the case. Their effects could increase the depression of breathing and the nervous system. That is why the official conclusions would later speak not about a mysterious death, but about a specific medical cause and a dangerous combination of circumstances. On the morning of June 25th, the situation became critical. According to the case materials, Michael stopped breathing normally. In such a moment, every minute matters. Help must be called quickly, the right actions must begin, and no time should be lost. Later, it would be the delay in the doctor's actions that raised the most questions. One of the main questions of the investigation sounded simple. Why was emergency help not called immediately? When a person stops breathing normally, time is counted not in hours, but in minutes. And the longer the pause lasts, the fewer chances remain to change something. Emergency services were eventually called. Paramedics arrived at the house and began fighting for the artist's life. For the outside world, nothing was clear at that moment yet. But inside the house, the final minutes of a story that would soon become world news were already unfolding. Then Michael was taken to UCLA Medical Center. Doctors continued trying to save him, but his body was no longer responding. At 2:26 p.m. local time, Michael Jackson was officially pronounced dead. After that, a private tragedy became an event of global scale. The news spread around the world faster than people could process it. Television, radio, websites, streets, fans, everywhere one name was being repeated: Michael Jackson. Some people did not believe it, some cried, and some simply stared silently at the screen, trying to understand how this could have happened. People gathered near the hospital, near his home, and at memorial places. For some, he was the artist of their childhood. For others, he was the person who changed music, dance, and the very idea of a show. His death felt not just like news, but like the end of a huge era. But after the first shock, the main question appeared: what exactly happened in the final hours? An investigation began. Investigators studied the medical drugs, the doctor's actions, the timing of the emergency call, and the conditions in which everything happened. This story moved from the news into the courtroom. Michael's personal doctor, Conrad Murray, went on trial. Prosecutors argued that he had made serious mistakes, using a dangerous drug outside proper conditions, failing to provide the necessary monitoring, and calling for help too late. The court examined not one single moment, but the entire chain of actions. In 2011, Conrad Murray was found guilty of involuntary manslaughter. He was sentenced to 4 years in prison. For the court, what mattered was that Michael's death was not connected to a mystery, but to specific medical actions and failures. The main conclusion of this story is difficult. Michael Jackson did not die because of age, because of the stage, or because of a mysterious accident. His death was connected to the dangerous use of powerful medical drugs in unsuitable conditions. Later, this tragedy would be called preventable. But Michael's story is not only the story of his final hours. It is the story of a person who changed music, dance, music videos, and the stage. His passing shocked the whole world, but his influence remained in songs, movements, images, and the memories of millions of people. And perhaps the main meaning of this story is that behind every legend, there is always a living human being, tired, vulnerable, and in need of real help.